The mission in the work I do is to empower people to make informed food choices, to debunk myths about veganism and animal rights, and to give people the tools and resources they need to live according to their own values of compassion and wellness. I always say that I'm not asking people to live according to my values, I'm urging people to live according to their own values. And I believe that people really want to make this change. I really believe that people are desperate to make changes that reflect their values. The problem is we live in a culture that doesn't exactly make it easy for us to make the most healthful choices. We live in a culture that actually makes it really difficult for us to do so. With the culture, the way it's set up, there are so many myths and misconceptions about living compassionately and living healthfully, and those myths become legends for people. And I think though people really are concerned about certain things, and that's why I do what I do, and I'm happy to do it, I think these myths also wind up becoming excuses for people. And we wind up using these things as blocks that actually stop us from making the changes we really do want to make. What I want to talk about today are some of these myths. The social aspects are a big element for people, because I think for too long vegans have been too apologetic about living this incredible life. I mean, living compassionately, living healthfully. I think for too long we haven't used our voice to express the joy that comes from living this way. I've heard people say that they would be vegan, but they're afraid to kind of call attention to themselves. They don't want to stand out. We think we value individuality in this culture, but I think all of us are aware that we value conformity a lot more. Nonconformist is a dirty word in most people's vocabularies. And yet everybody says they want to make a difference, right? Everybody says they want to do something meaningful and live a meaningful life, affect change, do something meaningful. And I believe people when they say these things, but I wonder if these things mean as much to them as not appearing different. It's easy to go along with the status quo, but the question we have to ask ourselves is that what we want at the cost of our own values? I've heard people say that they would be vegan, they would do it, or they do it sometimes, but they don't do it all the time because they don't want to make anybody uncomfortable, which sounds really noble on the surface. How noble of you to not want to make anyone else uncomfortable so that you don't reflect your own values, so that you don't upset anybody else. I don't get this, because this is it. This is who we are. This is who I am. Anybody who knows me knows where I stand on certain issues, namely that animals are here for their own value, not here for my pleasure. That's not something I have to apologize for. That's not something that changes according to who invites me to dinner or who it might make uncomfortable. And the truth of it is, I think that notion is incredibly self-centered. Who am I to know how someone's going to react? Who am I to deny them the chance to show me that they care about me by saying, I'm vegan? And them saying, oh, I've been wanting to be vegan, I've had questions, I don't feel well, I love my animals, I don't want to hurt anybody. Can you help me? Can you answer some questions for me? I've never seen people at their most beautiful than when I say I'm vegan and they say, I want to cook for you, can I make a meal for you? I've been making more vegan foods. That's their choice. And I always appreciate it, but I think we underestimate our friends, and I think we underestimate our family members and coworkers, and we don't give them the benefit of the doubt. Because as much as we think we're protecting them from their own discomfort, we're also denying our own ethics, and we're also perpetuating violence against animals, but we're also potentially denying them their own transformations, because how else does that occur but through that honest interaction and communication with one another, right? And what a mess I would be if my behavior were continually determined by how it would make another person react. I mean, my God. In other words, if my being vegan does make someone uncomfortable, that's not mine. That's not mine to do anything about. I didn't set out to make them uncomfortable, but we know what it's like when we just show up and say, I'm vegan, and someone says, whoa, and the hostility and the defensiveness. I didn't set out to do that. That's not mine. What someone does with my own values is not mine to worry about. Now, that doesn't mean that we be ungracious and rude or demanding, but it does mean that we need to speak our truth without being attached to how that truth will affect another person. And as much as we underestimate others, I think we also play small. I think we let fear guide us, and the lies that we're told become the lies we tell ourselves. One of the lies that we tell ourselves all the time is that it's too hard. People aren't going to change. It's too hard to change. People aren't going to stop eating animals. It's too hard to change. Now, you can call me crazy, because I know it sounds crazy, but I have more faith in people than that. I know people change. I see it every single day. I see people change. The problem is the more you keep telling people it's too hard to change, the more they're going to believe you. The more we keep telling people that there's something radical about eating fruits and vegetables and nuts and grains and mushrooms and beans and herbs and spices, the more we keep telling people that there's something extreme about not eating those mutilated bodies and stolen secretions of non-human animals, the more we keep telling ourselves these things, then nothing will change. The less we'll expect of ourselves, the less we'll expect of others, we'll keep that bar low and nothing will change. But if we raise that bar and we have some expectations of each other and have some expectations of ourselves, then we see amazing things take place. Amazing things take place in order to empower people to really make that difference, to make the difference they say they want to make. And people ultimately ask me that, if I really feel that people can make a difference. Do you really think that people can make a difference? And my answer is no. I don't think people can make a difference. I know people do make a difference. Everything we do, everything we buy, everything we eat has an impact on someone or something else. We don't get to decide whether we can make a difference or not. We get to decide only if the difference we inevitably make is negative or positive. That's it. Those are our only two choices. There are no neutral actions. And so for me, being vegan is about living my life with integrity and compassion, and doing everything I can to not contribute to violence against anyone, animals, non-human animals, human animals. It's about creating joy and meaning in a world so filled with violence, so filled with despair. That is to say, whereas violence creates more violence, non-violence also creates more non-violence. And I like being on that side of the equation. So all I ask people is never say never. Just be open and embrace the journey that comes with being human, the journey that encourages us to make new choices, to try new things, to make better choices, more compassionate choices once we know better. Because what I know for sure is that the problems we have in this world are not because people are living so compassionate. We don't have so much compassion we don't know what to do with it. That's not the problem. The problem is not that you're too compassionate. Just calm down with the compassion. The problem is that people are not living according to their own values of compassion and kindness. Most people say these are values they have. The question is, are they reflecting these values in their everyday behavior? And so that is my hope. My hope is that we will live each day and in all of our choices reflect our deepest values and know that we have the power to create the world we say we want to have and to be the people we say we want to be. And may it be so. Thank you very much.